7. Signs demonic ambassadors are secretly boosting your vibration. When we speak of spiritual growth, we often imagine light, angels, radiant guides, or divine protectors who whisper wisdom into our ears. Yet very few dare to consider a stranger, more uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the beings that appear darkest, the ones you label as demonic or malevolent, are actually the hidden catalysts of your highest vibration. They do not come dressed in white robes or speaking soothing words. They come as pressure, as chaos, as temptation, as unsettling presences in your life. And here is the paradox. You rise not despite them, but because of them. Think of your own life for a moment. Has your vibration ever risen during times of comfort, when everything was easy, predictable, and sweet? Or did it leap when you were under fire, when you were being tested by energies that felt cruel, oppressive, or even sinister? What if the very forces you've labeled demonic were not here to destroy you, but to forge you? What if their job is not to stop your awakening, but to make sure it is unshakable?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The first sign that a demonic ambassador is secretly boosting your vibration is resistance itself. The moment you feel targeted by energies that want to drag you into despair, anger, or fear, you are simultaneously given a chance to rise above them. Like weights in a gym, they increase the load so that your spiritual muscle has no choice but to grow. Have you ever noticed that when someone mocks your path, or when your peace is disrupted by negativity, you suddenly feel a deeper urge to return to stillness, to prove your soul is stronger than noise? That's not a coincidence. That's the alchemy of shadow at work. Another sign is the sharpening of discernment. Demonic ambassadors specialize in confusion. They whisper half-truths, lure you with easy pleasures, distort your sense of right and wrong. But when you walk through such fog, something extraordinary happens. Your inner compass strengthens. If angels offer clarity on a silver plate, demons force you to carve clarity from stone. And because of that, your wisdom becomes rooted, grounded, and unbreakable. Think of how many times you've been tricked or misled, only to come out later saying, "Now I know better, I'll never fall for that again." That scar on your heart is proof of discernment, born from darkness. The third sign is the awakening of raw courage. Demonic energies thrive on fear. They amplify the shadows in your mind, the doubts, the imagined monsters waiting in every corner. But when you decide to face them, not with denial but with fierce presence, something shifts. You begin to see fear itself as illusion, and in that moment, you realize the only power they had over you was the power you gave away. That realization is liberating beyond words. It boosts your vibration to a level where fear no longer has the same grip. Tell me, when was the last time you did something that terrified you, and after doing it, you felt unstoppable? That feeling is exactly what demonic ambassadors unconsciously gift you. The fourth sign is the death of your false self. Demonic ambassadors don't attack the real you, they attack the masks you wear. The ego that wants approval, the pride that clings to superiority, the false purity that pretends it has no shadow. They come to shatter these illusions, to force you into confrontation with the parts of yourself you would rather ignore. And every time a false self dies, your true self emerges, brighter. In that sense, their cruelty is a hidden surgery. Painful, yes, but it removes what no longer serves you. Without them, many of us would cling forever to masks that dim our vibration. The fifth sign is acceleration. Light beings often guide us gently, slowly, with kindness, but demonic ambassadors push you into extreme growth. They don't care about your comfort. They shove you into situations where you must evolve or collapse. And often, we only look back years later and say, if I hadn't gone through that fire, I wouldn't be who I am today. Their pressure speeds your timeline. Their chaos compresses years of growth into weeks or even days. Isn't it strange that the worst moments in your life often contain the seeds of your greatest transformation? The sixth sign is humility. When darkness strikes, you realize how small your control really is. You can't bargain, you can't fake strength, you can't hide. You're stripped down to raw vulnerability, and in that rawness, you rediscover surrender. You stop fighting reality, and instead you let the higher intelligence of the universe move through you. This humility doesn't lower your vibration, it raises it. As arrogance is heavy, but humility is light. And who do you think orchestrates this painful lesson better than the dark ambassadors themselves? The seventh and final sign is paradoxical gratitude. When you reach the other side of their trials, you look back and realize that what you thought was an enemy was secretly a teacher. You may never call them friends, but you cannot deny that without their interference, you would still be asleep. The moment you can whisper thank you even to your shadows, your vibration skyrockets. Because you are no longer in opposition to the universe, you are in harmony with all of it. Light and dark, angels and demons, pleasure and pain, that is freedom. So I ask you, what if the very thing you fear most is the reason you will become unstoppable? What if the beings you label as demonic are, in reality, the ones ensuring your wings grow strong enough to handle the highest altitudes of vibration? Can you allow yourself to see them not as punishments, but as paradoxical blessings? As we move deeper into this journey, remember this: the universe wastes nothing. Not even darkness. Every shadow in your life is serving the light of your awakening. And when you begin to recognize the signs, you will stop being afraid of the dark and start using it as fuel. Why darkness is the shortcut to your highest vibration. We've been taught to chase the light as if it is the only path to awakening, but that is the illusion. The truth is that darkness is not a detour, it is the shortcut. When you face only comfort, only light, your growth moves like a river on flat land, slow, gentle, and predictable. But when you face darkness, that river becomes a waterfall. It crashes, it transforms, it reshapes the entire landscape of your being in seconds. Demonic ambassadors embody that darkness. They are not patient mentors, they are accelerators. And if you dare to walk through their fire, you arrive at levels of vibration most people will never touch. Why? Because darkness cuts through your illusions. Most of what lowers your vibration isn't evil, it's delusion. It's the lies you tell yourself, the masks you hide behind, the comforting stories that keep you stagnant. Angels may whisper the truth softly, but demons rip the curtain away. They expose the raw wound you've been ignoring. They force you to see what you don't want to face. And once the illusion is gone, your vibration shoots up. Because truth, no matter how painful, is always lighter than lies. Think about the moments you grew the most. Were they times of bliss, or were they times when life stripped everything from you? The breakup that shattered your identity, the betrayal that made you doubt every friendship, the loss that left you crying alone at night. These are not random tragedies, they are orchestrated awakenings. They break you open because only then can more light enter. You may think demonic forces are there to break you down, but what if they are breaking you open? Darkness also teaches sovereignty. Most people think they are spiritual until life punches them in the face. Then suddenly their so-called faith crumbles. But when you endure darkness and still stand, you stop leaning on borrowed beliefs. You no longer depend on books, gurus, or even angels. You realize your own soul is unbreakable. That realization cannot come from comfort. It must be forged in fire. And isn't that what true vibration is? The discovery that your essence cannot be corrupted no matter what shadow you face. Another reason darkness is the shortcut is because it collapses time. Imagine trying to evolve slowly, step by step, lesson by lesson. That could take lifetimes. But a demonic ambassador can push you into one crisis that condenses decades of growth into a single season. Suddenly, you're not the same person. You look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself, not because you've fallen, but because you've risen faster than you thought possible. This is why so many awakened souls say, "My greatest pain became my greatest gift." But here is the most paradoxical secret. Darkness boosts your vibration not by being your enemy, but by being your mirror. Demonic ambassadors show you the parts of yourself you've buried. They trigger your jealousy, your rage, your lust, your greed. Not to shame you, but to reveal you. Every time you face those shadows without denial, you reclaim a piece of yourself. And as you reclaim, your vibration expands. The more whole you become, the higher you rise. Wholeness, not perfection, is the true measure of vibration. So let me ask you, what darkness in your life are you still resisting? What if, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you asked, "What is this teaching me? What hidden strength is this shadow forcing me to discover?" The moment you shift that question, your vibration begins to climb, because you stop seeing yourself as a victim of darkness and start seeing yourself as a master of it. The shortcut is always dangerous. It burns, it tests, it demands everything. But for those willing to endure it, the reward is incomparable. You don't just reach light, you embody it. And when you embody light born from darkness, nothing can shake it. The 7 shadows that secretly hold the keys to your ascension. If you want to understand how demonic ambassadors truly operate, you must learn to recognize the 7 shadows they awaken within you. These shadows are not curses, they are doors. Each one feels like a prison when you first encounter it, but the moment you face it with courage, the lock dissolves and it becomes a gateway to ascension. Think of it this way: angels hand you keys politely, but demons throw you into the locked room and dare you to find your way out. And when you do, you emerge stronger than you ever imagined. The first shadow is fear. Fear is the oldest and most primal of all energies. Demonic ambassadors thrive on amplifying it. They whisper thoughts of failure, abandonment, death, and doom. But here lies the secret. Fear is not a wall, it is a compass. What you fear most is usually the very direction your soul is calling you toward. Every time you choose to walk through fear rather than run from it, your vibration surges. Have you noticed how the thing you dread often becomes the thing that liberates you once faced? That is the hidden gift of fear. It shows you where the treasure is buried. The second shadow is desire. People think desire is always a trap, and yes, demons do exploit it. But desire is also a sacred spark. It reveals where your energy longs to flow. The trick is learning not to be enslaved by desire, but to master it. Demonic ambassadors wave temptations before you to see if you will blindly follow or consciously choose. Every time you say, "I will not let this rule me," your vibration strengthens. Desire, once mastered, transforms into passion, creativity, and purpose. The third shadow is anger. Anger often surges when demonic energy pushes your boundaries, and at first you might think anger lowers your vibration, but in truth, anger is a fire meant to purify. It shows you where injustice lives, where you have tolerated too much, where you must reclaim your power. Anger unrefined becomes destruction, but anger integrated becomes courage. When you channel it into truth, action, and justice, your vibration doesn't sink, it ignites. The fourth shadow is despair. Demonic ambassadors are experts at creating hopelessness, whispering that nothing matters, that life has no meaning. And yet, despair is the soil of transformation. When you hit rock bottom, the illusions collapse. Nothing remains except the raw truth of who you are. That is why so many who endure despair emerge with clarity, purpose, and strength they never knew they had. Despair strips you of what is false so that you can rebuild with what is real. The fifth shadow is pride. Pride whispers that you are invincible, superior, above it all. Demonic ambassadors love to inflate the ego, not because they want to glorify you, but because they want you to face the fall. And yet, falling from pride into humility is one of the greatest boosts to your vibration. Humility reconnects you to the whole, reminding you that no one ascends alone. Once pride is shattered, your heart becomes open again. The sixth shadow is doubt. Doubt corrodes faith, gnaws at your confidence, and makes you question everything. But doubt has a hidden genius. It prevents blind belief. It forces you to test, to refine, to build a faith that is not borrowed, but earned. A faith forged through doubt is indestructible. When you doubt and then choose to trust anyway, your vibration doesn't just rise, it stabilizes. The seventh shadow is isolation. Demonic ambassadors often make you feel alone, abandoned, cut off from the universe. But isolation is also the womb of self-realization. When no one is there to save you, you discover the light within yourself. You stop outsourcing your power and learn to generate it from within. That inner discovery is one of the purest sources of vibration you will ever find. So here is the paradox. Every shadow they unleash is actually a disguised ladder. Fear becomes courage, desire becomes passion, anger becomes justice, despair becomes renewal, pride becomes humility, doubt becomes faith, and isolation becomes inner strength. Without these shadows, you would never ascend. Now ask yourself, which shadow are you wrestling with right now? Instead of cursing it, can you see it as your teacher? Can you allow the discomfort to be the proof that you are standing at the doorway of your next awakening? Because once you see this truth, you will never fear the shadows again. You will know they are not prisons, but invitations, and you will use them as stepping stones into your highest vibration. how to turn demonic ambassadors into allies of light. Up until now, we have seen how demonic ambassadors test, pressure, and even torment us in ways that paradoxically raise our vibration. But the real secret, the one very few dare to speak aloud, is this: you can turn them into allies. Not allies in the sense of worship or submission, but allies in the sense of transformation. Once you understand their role, once you stop resisting and start transmuting, you discover that the very beings who seem to fight against your awakening were actually helping to build it all along. The first step is recognition. Most people spend their lives trapped in reaction, fighting, fearing, or fleeing whenever they sense shadow energy around them. But when you pause and recognize, this is not random darkness, this is initiation, something shifts. Instead of shrinking, you expand. Instead of resisting, you breathe into the moment. Recognition alone disarms half their power. They thrive on unconsciousness. Awareness is your shield. The second step is engagement without attachment. When a demonic ambassador stirs fear, anger, or desire, you don't deny it. You don't pretend to be above it. You engage it consciously. You say, yes, I feel this. Yes, I see this shadow rising in me. But I will not let it own me. That stance is liberation. It's like being in a storm but learning how to dance with the wind instead of being blown away. Can you imagine how powerful you become when nothing can hijack your awareness? The third step is transmutation. Every shadow holds raw energy. Fear is raw life force. Anger is raw fire. Desire is raw creativity. When you take that rawness and redirect it, you become an alchemist. The very energy meant to break you fuels your ascension. Have you ever taken heartbreak and turned it into art? Have you ever taken despair and turned it into compassion for others? That is transmutation, turning poison into medicine, turning shadow into light. And demonic ambassadors are the unwilling suppliers of this energy. The fourth step is gratitude. This is the most shocking of all because the ego hates it. Gratitude for the dark? Gratitude for the tormentors? Yes. Gratitude doesn't mean you condoned harm. It means you recognize the role it played in your evolution. You whisper, "Thank you for testing me. Thank you for making me stronger. Thank you for showing me who I really am." The moment you can thank even the shadows, you step into sovereignty. You prove that nothing can enslave you. And the final step is integration. Once you've recognized, engaged, transmuted, and given gratitude, you no longer see light and dark as separate. You see them as two hands of the same creator. You no longer fear demonic ambassadors because you understand their secret. They were never against you. They were against your illusions. They were breaking everything false so that everything true could rise. Integration means you carry both light and dark within you without shame, without fear, without denial, and that is the highest vibration of all, wholeness. Let me ask you something deeply personal. What would happen if you stopped running from your demons and started listening to them? What wisdom might they be trying to carve into your soul? What strength might they be unlocking in you right now? Could it be that they have been your hidden teachers all along? And when you see this truth, you no longer play the game of victim and persecutor. You no longer waste energy fighting shadows. You move like water, absorbing, reflecting, flowing. You realize that angels and demons are not enemies. They are two languages of the same universe, both working to awaken you. One speaks softly, the other screams, but both say the same thing. Remember who you are. And here is the ultimate revelation. Demonic ambassadors cannot destroy your soul. They can only strip away what is not your soul. That means every encounter with them is secretly a purification, a sharpening, a remembering. They are not your end, they are your beginning. So the next time darkness visits you, whether through fear, despair, temptation, or doubt, pause. Instead of cursing it, ask, what gift are you hiding from me? What strength are you forcing me to claim? And then step forward with courage. Because if you dare, you will find that your vibration doesn't just rise, it soars. This is the paradox at the heart of awakening. The very shadows you flee from are the ones carrying your wings. Demonic ambassadors may appear as enemies, but in truth, they are secret allies of light, not because they choose to be, but because the universe designed it that way. And once you know this, you will never be the same. So let us end here with a question only you can answer. Will you keep fearing the shadows, or will you finally thank them for pushing you into the brilliance of your own soul? Because the moment you do, you will realize that you were never at war with demons. You were at war with yourself. And now, that war is over.